If the term ultra performance scooter were to be in the dictionary, it would probably be inked next to a picture of the Dualtron Storm. After all, this thing can hit up to a flabbergasting 80 miles of range and scorch surfaces at a rate of up to 62 miles per hour. With patent pending 45-step rubber suspension technology, a customizable kaleidoscopic wealth of swag lighting, and immense amounts of torque, the Storm encapsulates all of the innovation and imagination of the Dualtron brand, with a few surprises thrown in. Gather round then as we run you through the key things that you need to know about one of the most impressive machines from the Dualtron line. Welcome to Electric Scooter Insider. I'm Josh and I've been reviewing electric scooters for the last few years, and it's my mission to help you choose the right scooter. So if you're here because you want the most substantial, complete and comprehensive review of the Dualtron Storm, then strap in, sit back and enjoy. In this review, we are going to cover 8 key areas. Who is it best for? What are the pros and cons? The value for money, alternatives, its design, ride quality, performance and safety, and the extra features. So let's start. Unlike some of its fellow Dualtron models such as the Ultra 2, the Storm isn't an all-purpose scooter but tailored more specifically to urban environments. This thing is destined to scorch asphalt, burn rubber and crush concrete in the city rather than tear up the dirt paths and forest trails of off-road circuits. That said, you can switch the Form street tyres for a pair of off-road oriented ones. However, you're better off opting for the Dualtron Ultra 2 if you're going to be doing more off-road than on-road riding. I should also note here that in case the price tag didn't already tip you off, the Storm is no entry-level scooter and it's not suited for commuters. After all, it weighs 102 pounds. The only people that should be thinking about investing in the Storm are experienced riders that are comfortable with high-performance scooters and who are looking to trade up to something with a lot more bite. Heck, even those who are already well versed in powerful scooters will have their hands full. The way the Storm bursts brutally into life when you feather the throttle might surprise even the most experienced of riders, while aspects of the Storm's ride quality such as its dynamic kick plate will certainly take some adapting to. You've been warned, this one's not called Storm for no reason. Let's start with the pros. It has impressive speed and range credentials. It has customizable kaleidoscopic color changing lights. It has a removable battery. The big wide 11-inch air-filled tyres and the kick plate provide stability at speed. It's durable and it has a reliable frame with the Mini Motors stamp of approval and quality. It has excellent stopping power and it has folding handlebars for easier storage. Now the cons, it doesn't have a headlight, and because of the torque it's actually quite hard to maintain a constant speed. The handlebars are also a little bit short for riders that are over 6 foot, and it has no water resistance ratings. At $4,490, the Dualtron Storm doesn't come cheap, but is it good value for money? I think it is, but I also think it depends heavily on what you're looking for out of a scooter. The Storm is fast, it has excellent range, and unlike all of the alternatives in its ultra performance price class, it comes fitted with a removable battery to boot. The Storm also embodies the best of the Dualtron range. Its folding handlebars, imposing build, 45-step suspension and legendary light display all epitomise the essence of Dualtron. If you love your scooters and are passionate about performance and want to go all in on a machine that will impress your friends and spice up your life, this is it. For those of you not worried about brands and big names, however, I'd recommend looking elsewhere. Take the NAMI Bernie Viper for instance. Available for a similar price, it offers more range and has a superior acceleration rate, as well as several aspects of its build quality and design. Elsewhere on the market, the recent Wolf King GT offers more brute power at a much more alluring price point, while the Wolf King, despite being a whopping $1,491 cheaper than the Storm, is also a faster accelerator. Ultimately, the Storm is worth your time and your money, but just remember you are paying a premium for the Dualtron brand. First up, we have the NAMI Bernie Viper. Now in the US, this is priced at $4,499, so very similar to the Storm. In the UK, it retails for around £3,800. Now this model has a top speed of 60 miles per hour, a maximum range of 100 miles. It weighs 103 pounds and it can support up to 330 pounds. So why is it better than the Storm? Well, it has a longer range, 20 miles to be precise. It also has a 24% faster acceleration rate. It has a more configurable display as well as better scooter controls. The handlebar height is actually a lot taller by 6 inches. It has a superior adjustable suspension system. It's terrain agnostic. The throttle is a lot smoother to control, and it has bright piercing headlights. And it's actually easier to fold thanks to its intuitive folding mechanism. So why is it worse than the Dualtron Storm? Well, there's no removable battery for easy charging and extending your range, and it's also prone to front wheel spin and not biting as quickly as the Storm. Next up, we have the Wolf King GT. In the US, this retails for $3,595, and in the UK, you can pick it up for £3,199. Now, this model has a top speed of 62 miles per hour, a maximum range of 70 miles. It weighs a whopping 115 pounds, and it can support up to 330 pounds. So again, why is it better than the Dualtron Storm? Well, first up, it's cheaper. Everyone likes to save a bit of money. You can pick this model up and save $895. It has a 24% faster acceleration rate. Again, more configurable display and scooter controls. It's also terrain agnostic. It again has a really bright piercing set of headlights, and it has a robust dual stem and attractive gold color palette. So why is it worse than the Dualtron Storm? Well, you get 10 miles less range. It's also 13 pounds heavier. It's more difficult to fold and maneuver, and it doesn't have a removable battery for easy charging and extending your range. Third and final in our alternatives, we have the original Wolf King. Now this retails for $2,999 in the US, and in the UK, £2,899. Again, this one can hit up to 60 miles per hour. It can keep the wheels rolling for up to 50 miles. It weighs 105 pounds, and it can support up to 400 pounds. Now, why is it better than the Dualtron Storm? Well, again, it's cheaper. You can save $1,491. It again has those bright piercing dual headlights, and it has that robust dual stem and attractive gold color palette. Okay, so why is it worse than the Dualtron Storm? Well, it has a shorter range by 30 miles. It's also a lot more difficult to fold and maneuver, and again, it doesn't have the removable battery. Let's begin at the height of the Storm. Of course, I'm talking about the handlebars. First of all, they fold using a clever spring-loaded mechanism, meaning that they look fantastic and function intuitively. Of course, the collapsible handlebars, while certainly stylish, rarely appear on ultra-performance scooters, since the speeds at which these models can go at require a solid foundation. Fortunately, the handlebars do secure tightly, and I didn't experience any form of wobbling, even when ripping the scooter at the top speed. Aside from the functioning form of the handlebars, the beefy rubber hand grips provide the well-needed grip needed to control the aggressive torque of the dual hub motors, which put out a maximum peak output of 6,640 watts. Similarly, the scooter controls located on the left are easily accessible and bring a welcome improvement to the majority of others that we've tested. Not only is each button illuminated with a ring of light behind it, but the turn signals use a simple switch so you can easily see whether they are on or not. With other turn signal buttons, it's often a hit or miss situation since you can't see if they are on or off just by looking at the buttons. The only aspect of the handlebars that you should take note of, particularly if you are over 6 foot, is their height. The Storm's handlebars measure 51.1 inches in height, which, when compared to similar scooters, is a little short. The NAMI Bernie Viper's handlebars, for instance, tower over the Storm's by a full 6 inches, so naturally I'm reluctant to recommend the Storm for tall riders. I'm 6'1" and I felt slightly hunched over at times. With wide tyres and a colossal deck, the Storm follows in the footsteps of its Dualtron ancestors by channeling a combative, commanding energy. Decked out in all black with a single tubular stem and big, robust swing arms that are accented with swag lighting, the Storm merges the school of classic scooter design with a unique look and feel. Because there's no denying it, the Dualtron Storm is one of the coolest scooters we've ever reviewed. Equipped with an extensive and customizable swag lighting setup that shifts flashes in an array of kaleidoscopic colors, the Storm blends the moody, menacing aesthetic of its frame with a fun, fresh feel that's sure to turn heads. To say the Dualtron Storm's deck is merely large would be an understatement. This thing is large enough to host a game of poker on, let alone stand on it, and it's coated in a veneer of sandpapery grip tape for traction. But of course, there's another reason for the size of the Storm's deck, and that goes beyond comfort and stability. It's where the scooter's removable battery is housed. A feature pretty much unheard of on scooters of the Storm's ilk, its deck housed battery can be easily removed for simpler charging. There's even a small voltmeter embedded into the deck's surface for keeping an eye on its capacity. Comfort wise, the Storm's deck offers plenty of clearance, plus there's a kick plate to lean into at high speeds. When the Storm's folded, the deck hooks into the stem to make the scooter easier to pick up and move around. It's also worth noting that the kick plate is unlike any other we've come across. It pivots with the rear suspension, so it takes a little getting used to, but the times where the pivot motion is most pronounced is when you accelerate and you naturally place more weight on your back foot. If the Storm's 11-inch tubeless tyres look familiar, that's because you've probably seen them before, flaunting the same set of chubby street tyres like those on the NAMI Bernie Viper and the Wolf King. The Storm doesn't reinvent the wheel here, although it still does provide phenomenal ride experience. The Storm's large, wide tyres inspire confidence while riding at pace, which, considering the 62 miles per hour top speed this scooter is capable of, is critical. You don't get the same levels of agility and dynamism offered by smaller tyres, but the stability of the larger contact patch is more than enough compensation. Plus, because of their air-filled design, they're primed to absorb the initial waves of shocks you'll experience going over potholes and crevices in the sidewalk. The Storm comes with all of the trimmings of durability and design that we expect from a model in the famed Dualtron line. Made up of both aviation grade aluminium alloy and a type of composite steel with reinforced wear resistant plastic for some of the consumables, the Storm is built to last. Along with that imposing frame, the Storm boasts a high quality battery and a braking system that you can rely on. But more importantly, the Storm blends these Dualtron staples with some neat new flourishes. Most notably is the removable battery, which is the only model in the range to boast this feature. Of course, we have to address the elephant in the room when it comes to the Storm's build quality. Its lack of water resistance rating. Unfortunately, IP credentials are an all too rare sight on Dualtron scooters, an absence that's made even more glaring by the warranty policies of the scooter's sellers. As is common across the industry, the warranty excludes damage deemed to be the cause of rain, and with that in mind, it's best to leave the Storm inside when it's raining out or risk voiding your scooter's warranty. So I guess we could actually say that the Dualtron Storm and actual storms don't mix. The Dualtron Storm weighs in at 102 pounds, which, believe it or not, is actually on the lighter side when it comes to ultra performance scooters. The Storm weighs less than its competitors such as the NAMI Bernie Viper and is comfortably slimmer than the likes of the Wolf King, which weighs 105 pounds, and the Wolf King GT, which weighs a big 115 pounds. In terms of load, it can support a relatively standard 330 pounds of rider weight, and this aligns closely with other top performing scooters on the market, but it is outstripped by one scooter in its class, and that scooter is the Wolf King. At 400 pounds, the King supports the best load bearing capacity of any other model on the market, and that is based on our database of 100 strong scooters. So that one is a great option for heavier riders. In addition to the collapsible handlebars discussed earlier, the Dualtron Storm also folds in half at the stem via an intuitive mechanism that's also quite common across the industry. The Storm's folding contraption relies on a couple of quick release collar clamps paired with a locking ring. To fold the scooter, you simply have to undo the quick release clamps, fold the ring up, and then bring the stem down and attach it to the deck, and then vice versa to unfold the scooter. The clamps are high quality and I've had no issues with them in my test rides. That said, you do need to make sure that they are sufficiently tight, in fact very tight, before you set out. Otherwise you will run the risk of getting a little bit of stem wobble, but if you tighten them very tight, there won't be any stem wobble at all. Armed with an innovative 45-step rubber suspension system and 11-inch air-filled tyres, the Storm is capable of weathering the impact of all urban terrain. You won't get the same ride quality outside of the city on off-road circuits, of course, but if that's your aim, you're better off opting for the NAMI Bernie Viper and its adjustable KKE hydraulic suspension. After all, the 45-step suspension system of the Storm is easier to talk about than it is to actually change. The Bernie suspension, on the other hand, could be adjusted by my 88-year-old nan. Nevertheless, the Storm is certified to get the hairs on the back of your neck to stand to attention, and when you get to a decent speed, carving from side to side feels solid. However, there are a few areas that could be improved. Most notably is the immediate throttle response, and this makes it hard to maintain a constant speed below 25 miles per hour. Compared to a scooter like the NAMI Bernie Viper, which you can control the speed of as you gradually apply the pressure to the throttle, the Storm's finger throttle is abrupt. If you like extreme torque and want to burn rubber every time you step foot on the scooter, the Storm will be ideal for you. But if you don't like the idea of the jolting experience that pulling ever so slightly down on throttle results in, then you may be better off with a different scooter. I tested the scooter in its lowest setting, so Eco, and in riding mode 1, and the brutal throttle response remained. Overall, the Storm is an exhilarating ride, but is it the most comfortable? This depends on what type of rider you are. If you are an adrenaline junkie that's shorter than 6 foot, then you will love the Storm. But for me, a 6'1" rider who likes to cruise, ease into the ride, and then hit the throttle as I tackle all kinds of terrain, the Storm doesn't quite fit this profile. A miracle of modern electric scooter engineering, the Dualtron Storm can hit industry topping levels of up to 62 miles per hour. but how much bang does that get you for your buck? Let's see how the Storm performs alongside the most similar models when we consider its price and weight. Firstly, I should note that models in the Storm speed bracket aren't all that easy to track down because there aren't that many of them. Even widening the net of the comparison out to a $1,000 price range, which is more than double the $500 price range that I usually apply, just 2 of the scooters make the grade. These are the Dualtron Ultra 2, which with its 62 mph top speed sits alongside the Storm in our speed rankings, and the NAMI Bernie, which at 60 mph is a close second. So which model presents the best value? Well, it's hard to ignore the Storm's inflated price point compared to the Ultra 2. A full $500 cheaper, the Ultra 2 delivers much of the same functionality and design as its more expensive sibling, such as its hydraulic brakes, 11-inch tubeless tyres, 6,640 watt dual hub motors, and in the placement of its controllers for heat management. The Ultra 2 also comes with more mileage, though it lacks a detachable battery. Ultimately though, the differences between these models, at least as far as performance is concerned, is negligible. Which one you choose comes down to where your priorities are as a rider. If it's off-road riding, take the Ultra 2. If it's road racing, the Storm will be up your alley. As for the NAMI Bernie Viper, don't let its slightly slower top speed and slightly larger price point put you off. In addition to packing up to 100 miles of range off a single charge, the Viper also boasts an adjustable hydraulic coil-over shock suspension system, as well as multiple water resistance ratings and a durable tubular stem design. But it doesn't stop there. The Viper also sports the fastest acceleration rate, not only in the industry, but in the record books. But more on this later in the acceleration section of the review. Switching up our comparison to scooter weight rather than price gives us a slightly larger pool of scooters to play with. How then does the Storm's 62 mph credentials measure up to the 6 other models in its 87 to 117 pound bracket? So that is 15 pounds on either side, a total of a 30 pound weight bracket. Well, was it ever going to be a contest? Again, the Storm dominates the speed rankings, sitting alongside the Dualtron Ultra 2 at the head of the table. This time though, there's the fanged, ferocious new entrant sharing the limelight at the top, the Wolf King GT. A recently updated take on the classic iconic design of the original Wolf King, the GT keeps its predecessor's gold dual stem frame but soups it up in all the right areas. That includes wider handlebars, a more ergonomic thumb throttle, but most importantly, almost 1700 watts more total power from its dual 2000 watt motors. This gives the GT a top speed that caps out at 62 mph, which is slightly more than the original King. Making up the rest of the list are the usual suspects, which reads as a guest list to the electric scooter superstardom: the Bernie Viper, the Dualtron Thunder, and the Wolf Warrior 11 Plus. Of these, I'll be tempted to pick the Viper for its blistering acceleration rate. The aforementioned Wolf King GT is also a fantastic adrenaline charged and relatively affordable option, though at £115 is the heaviest scooter in our rankings. As a result of the 6,640 watt peak output of the Dualtron Storm's dual motors, the scooter sports a very fast acceleration rate. It's capable of hitting 15 mph in just 2.4 seconds and reaching 25 mph in a rubber burning 3.7 seconds. Now, the Storm is extremely torquey, so much so that its immediate throttle response, combined with the aggressive adrenaline-fueled nature of the Storm's acceleration rate, means that starting your ride can often be a nervy, nail-biting experience as all that power jolts you forward. Adding to that white knuckle sensation is the sheer amount of noise that the Storm puts out. Unlike the relatively silent, sneaky NAMI Bernie Viper, the Storm's motors emit an unavoidable, loud whirring noise as you ride. I have to confess though, I love this. It lets you hear and feel the power that's thrumming through the Storm's frame, and it never permits you to forget that you're riding one of the most commanding scooters in the world. In contrast, and as previously mentioned, scooters like the NAMI allow you more control over your speed by gradually applying pressure to the throttle. In this sense, the Viper offers the best of both worlds, an industry-crushing, asphalt-igniting acceleration rate that also manages to not only be jumpy or feel dangerous. So, how does the Storm's acceleration compare? Let's take a look. As the table demonstrates, the Storm's acceleration rate falls short when compared to the other scooters in its niche. This shouldn't come as too much of a surprise though. The Storm's motors do, after all, sport the lowest peak output of the bunch, where you have the NAMI Bernie with a maximum peak output of 8,400 watts, followed by the Wolf King GT with 8,400 watts, then the Wolf King with 6,720 watts, and then finally the Dualtron Storm with 6,640 watts. So again, it's the NAMI Bernie demonstrating its superlative credentials with a top billing, while the Wolf King models follow closely on the Viper's venomous tail. To be precise, the Bernie and Wolf King GT are both 29% faster to 15 miles per hour and 19% faster and 16% faster to 25 miles per hour respectively. The Dualtron Storm can hit distances of up to 80 miles off a single charge, with an additional interchangeable battery pack also on offer, allowing you in theory to swap the spent battery out while on the road, thereby doubling your range. This can be as much as 160 miles. And that's the equivalent to the distance between Sacramento and Fresno, and that is an insane amount of range. But as always, let's weigh up the Dualtron Storm's endurance credentials against its biggest rivals, again looking at the metrics of price and weight. But just before we do that, just to let you know, under realistic conditions, for example, riding fast, which you would probably expect to do on the Dualtron Storm, you can get around 45 miles. Returning to our $1,000 price range that we used in the speed versus price comparison, with the Storm's price point smack bang in the middle, this gives us just a pair of comparably priced contenders to work with. Of these, it's the NAMI Bernie laying siege to the upper echelons of the rankings. Like its record-breaking acceleration rate, the Viper's 100-mile range is unparalleled in the industry. This is largely thanks to the Bernie's enormous 72 volt 35 amp Panasonic battery that stores 11% more energy and ultimately provides 20 more miles ride time than the Storm. Elsewhere, the Ultra 2, whilst not able to match the Bernie for range, offers a full 7 miles more off a single charge compared to the Storm. This increased capacity is courtesy of the Ultra 2's battery, which at 72 volts and 35 amps matches the Bernie's for size. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what's the difference then between the Bernie and the Dualtron Ultra 2? Why don't they have the same mileage? Well, the Bernie Viper offers more range because of its impressive dual 50 amp sine wave controllers. Now these are able to pull battery power more efficiently than their counterparts on the Dualtron Ultra 2 and Storm for that matter, and therefore the Bernie is able to deliver a longer range. Returning to our comparison of the 7 models in the Dualtron Storm's 87 to 117 pound weight class, it's predictably the NAMI Bernie Viper that emerges victorious. With a century of miles in its locker, the Viper offers 25% more range than the Dualtron Storm and Thunder, and a full 13 miles more than the Ultra 2, its closest competitor in the weight bracket. Moreover, the Viper's incredible range outstrips gun-ho models like the Wolf King GT and Wolf Warrior by a full 30 miles and doubles the maximum mileage of the original Wolf King, which closes up the pack. If we take a step back from the rankings for a second though and just focus on the 80-mile range of the Storm, it's still truly impressive, and it upholds itself as one of the scooters with the longest ranges. The Dualtron Storm is capable of tackling hills of up to 35 degrees. This puts it in the upper echelon of hill climbing scooters and puts it on par with models such as the NAMI Bernie Viper and even the Dualtron X2. Sure, the Storm doesn't quite hit the same heights as hill-hungry powerhouses like the Wolf King GT, which feel no fear going toe-to-toe with inclines of up to 50 degrees. But given the Storm's preference for urban environments, it's more than capable of handling whatever city slopes you can throw at it. Plus, it's also worth noting that when you push any scooter up challenging inclines, it's naturally going to go into overdrive, which, as you can imagine, isn't good. The Storm is no exception to this rule, but it's nice to know that Mini Motors are doing something about it. And this is why the Storm comes fitted out with specialist heat sinks that surround the battery and controllers. Much like many of the fellow Dualtron models that the Storm improves on, such as the Thunder, it relies on an adjustable rubber cartridge system for the bulk of its shock absorption capabilities. Unique to Mini Motors, the Storm suspension can be customized across 3 areas of its design. These are its interchangeable rubber cartridges, motor shaft distance, and the angle of the swing arms, and how these engage with each other will dictate the kind of ride quality you can expect. All told, the various combinations possible here give the Storm suspension an unfettered 45 levels of personalization. Yet, while this allows you to adjust your Storm's level of shock absorption to more or less fit the exact nature of the terrain you're traversing, implementing the adjustments are difficult. So, for the sake of this review and the likelihood that most other riders who pick up the Storm will just keep it with the stock suspension, I'll use that suspension for the rest of this section of the review to share my experiences of how it performs. My test rides prove that the suspension is a little stiff. This of course means that it's primed for tearing up the more compact asphalt and concrete surfaces of the city, which is where the Storm is designed to be. The Storm, as we've come to expect from all ultra performance scooters, comes equipped with robust dual nut hydraulic disc brakes. Measuring up at 160mm, the standard for this type of scooter, the Storm's brakes are super sharp and exceedingly well calibrated. They come well tuned and you only need to feather your fingers on the levers to start slowing down. In much the same way as a light touch is recommended on the Storm's finger throttle, you want to be as gentle as possible on the brakes. Plus, its motors are cut when you brake, which increases the amount of stopping power while decreasing the kinetic burden on your Storm's machinery. It also helps that the Storm comes with an inbuilt electric anti-lock braking system, otherwise known as EABS. That helps to prevent skidding and also the loss of control that comes with wheel lock. This won't be suitable for everyone though, because it causes a kind of vibrating sensation and a shuddering sensation through the entire frame of the scooter, which can disturb riders. For me, I like it personally, but you can easily disable it. You just need to head over to the settings in the iDisplay and then toggle it on or off from there. Ultimately though, there's nothing about the Dualtron Storm's brakes that causes it to lose ground against its competitors. It comes to a complete stop in just 3 meters from 15 miles per hour, and the Storm's braking setup is very similar to that you'll see on the Ultra 2 and the NAMI Burney. The only real difference is that Mini Motors decided to manufacture proprietary discs for the Storm, and while these are sufficiently high quality, the downside is that you can't trade out the discs for those of a different variety, say Magura discs, which tend to outperform nut brakes and are renowned not only for their increased stopping power and efficiency, but also how easy they are to maintain. How long it takes to get your Dualtron Storm charged up will depend on how many chargers you have and whether any of them are of the fast variety. With a single standard charger which comes included with your Storm as standard, the scooter will take up to 21 hours to reach a full charge. Adding a second charger into the mix slashes that time down to just 10 hours, while a fast charger will have you back out on the road in less than 5. Would it be a Dualtron scooter without a Mini Motors iDisplay perched proudly atop of the handlebars? Probably not. This circular luminescent display, which also doubles as a finger throttle, will be instantly recognizable to anyone that's familiar with the upper end of high performance scooters. In addition to the entire Dualtron line, you'll also find the iDisplay gracing magnificent models such as the Wolf Warrior and the Wolf King, so it comes with some serious pedigree. This screen, the Eye of the Storm, is your go-to for info about your scooter's speed, battery life and distance travelled on both your current trip and all time. But go even deeper and a whole new world of customization is waiting for you beyond those big clickable buttons of the display. I'm talking of course about the P settings, a set of advanced functionalities that allow you to personalize your ride. Among other things, these settings enable you to adjust your screen's brightness and your scooter's battery auto turn-off settings, the strength of the Storm's regenerative braking system, the units you're working in, whether that's miles or kilometers, the acceleration style, whether you want to kick to start or have a zero start with the wheels spinning. In addition, you can access your P settings to turn on or off the ABS, so the anti-lock braking system, and the cruise control. The iDisplay also comes in useful when it comes to identifying, diagnosing and fixing everyday issues that crop up with your Storm. Error codes, which translate into a number of specific problems, pop up on the display. These help you identify what's wrong with it to quickly fix it. And for more information about what the P settings do and what those error codes mean, make the manual your first port of call. The Storm in many ways is a remarkable scooter, but one of the biggest ways that the Storm subverts the norms of its fellow top performing scooters is in its removable battery pack. After all, a removable battery pack is something that you're more likely to see on a scooter like the Turbowan X7 Pro, which is priced at just around $600, than a high performance model, or rather ultra performance model like the Dualtron Storm. That said, the Storm's removable battery at £30 isn't light. In fact, it's the largest removable battery of its capacity in any electric scooter, so carrying an extra one with you isn't all that realistic. Still, this feature does make it easier when it comes to the routine replacement and charging of your battery. And thanks to the small handle built into the deck, the pack is easy to lift out and transport. Dualtron has never been afraid to push the envelope of style, to try new things in the course of jazzing up its scooters and making a bold visual statement. And with the Storm, Dualtron has upped its LED game to a whole new level. But where do I even start? Well, there's the colourful lighting adorning each side of the deck, which, thanks to a neat remote control that comes included, is fully customizable to the hues and shades that best represent your taste and style. The lighting isn't content to sit still either, shifting constantly in dazzling dynamic patterns of kaleidoscopic kinesis. The Storm's LED display is reminiscent of a sinister, seductive fairground ride at midnight. Elsewhere, you can find the shape-shifting swag lighting on the Storm swing arms, something I haven't seen before, and a vertical strip of LED lighting on the stem. Perhaps the coolest of all though is the ground effects. Via a light located on the underside of the scooter's deck, the Storm projects a ghostly image of the white Dualtron logo with Storm underneath it in red. In addition to the colourful lights previously mentioned, the Storm comes equipped with turn signals, and now while these aren't perfect, they can only be seen from the rear rather than the front or the side, they're still better than many of the run-of-the-mill turn signals that I've seen on other similar scooters. What's more, these turn signals are also not only super easy to use, but the rocker switch makes it simple for you to know whether they are on or off. Located just below the switch that controls the turn signals is a trio of silver buttons. Pushing the one in the middle will activate your hazard lights, which will let other road users know if you're in trouble. The only other area of lighting, or absence of it, left to discuss is the Storm's conspicuous lack of a headlight, instead opting for button lights embedded into the front of the deck. Considering the Storm's place in the prestigious lineup of ultra performance scooters, this design flaw feels like a major oversight. While you'll look cool riding this thing, it's not sufficient for riding at night. You'll want to strap on a headlight if you're planning on nighttime excursions. That's the review of the Dualtron Storm. If you like what you saw, you can either pick it up by scanning this QR code here or clicking the links in the description. I'll also make sure to provide links for all of the scooters that I've recommended as alternatives, and if you need any more help, why not head over to electricscooterinsider.com, where we have guides and reviews on pretty much every type of scooter. Now, if you've found value from this video, do me a favour, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to become an Electric Scooter Insider. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.